privileged to have had leadership in Surfland that has been active and present. And I would offer that there is probably not a better known and recognized Surfland probably in the history of Surfland, or certainly in a good long time, down to the deck plate. So go to the website if you're looking for the details, but it's a fleet sailor. Rear Admiral Dave Thomas.
Hey, Admiral. How are you, sir? Okay, well, thank you for that very brief introduction, Sam.
And sea story.
And sea story, thank you. But I would tell you, as far as the most recognized Surfland, I think there's a tied for first place amongst a whole bunch of Surflants, not the least of which Admiral Giffen actually has a DVD on how to do zone inspections, which I've handed out at more than one all CO, XO, senior enlisted meeting. So Admiral Giffen, it's an honor to have you here with us today, sir. Thank you so much for your leadership and for continuing to serve. Thank you. So I was asked to speak today by Captain Howard to speak about where we are in Surfland, where we've been, where we are, and where we're headed. And I'll tell you, I've got a bunch of pictures and slides I'll talk to so they help me remember what to talk about in case I lose my place. But I'll tell you right up front, where we are today in Surfland, we're in a great place. I really believe that. And we have extraordinary leadership from our Secretary of the Navy, from our Chief of Naval Operations, from Vice Admiral Copeman, from Major General Walsh at OPNAV N95, and Admiral Roden, OPNAV N96. We've got vision, we've got focused attention, and we've got great things we're procuring and great projects for the future. So as far as where we are today and where we're headed, big picture-wise, I couldn't be more sanguine. Now back to the waterfront. We've been, during my tour at Surfland for the last 3+ years, I've been blessed with two great bosses, Admiral Harvey and now Admiral Gortney, focused on surface warfare readiness to a degree I could not have imagined. And the support has been extraordinary, and I must tell you, from my seat, looking up, we could not have asked for more support, better support, and again, I am so sanguine for the future in that regard. But more tactically, as I look through the room today and I look at these, especially the young folks that are here, the lieutenant commanders and the lieutenants and lieutenants JG and ensigns, and our senior enlisted and our junior enlisted, boy, I could not be more excited for the future of our surface warfare Navy. We have great people, we have great stuff, and we are positioned to do what our nation needs to have done by our surface force, and I believe that with every ounce of my being. So that's what I wanted to say big picture-wise. I've got some slides up here I'll talk to you in a second. But I'd ask that if you have questions that you'd like to ask me, I'll try to keep my remarks short and then take any questions you have. So if something pops up in the course of my discussion here, please feel free to raise your hand and shout it out. So I've been a surface warfare officer since 1981. Well, I was an aspiring surface warfare officer in 1981 and got my SWO pin in 1982. In my first 10 years or so as a surface warfare officer, I spent about 8.5 of them at sea, because that's what I like to do and that's where I like to be. Oh, by the way, if you like sailors and you like ships, you love working at Surfland. That's what we do. So if you find yourself looking for a job as a 2-star or an E2, come to Surfland if you like ships and you like sailors. But I digress. So a pop quiz, if you were at department head school back in the day, you'd see pictures like this and you'd be asked what this is. This still is the dreaded Sovremenny, a Soviet ship, now a Russian ship. Great ship, packs a mean punch. We called it the dreaded Sovremenny when I was a Lieutenant JG at department head school. So I found myself after 8.5 years at sea, I was on a sort of a shore duty gig as Second Fleet's aide. I was at the tail end of a very long, distinguished line of flag officers and then senior officers and then me at the end. And back there on the port side aft, just as you're coming up from that gun deck, there was a cosmetic anomaly in where the bulkhead meets the deck. And so no one was looking, so I kind of leaned over and kicked it, and it gave. Turns out it was a mattress or a pillow that was stuffed into where the bulkhead and the deck had come apart and they were rusted. stuck a mattress or a pillow or something in there, painted it over. So from afar it looked great, like this ship looks great. It is a great ship, but up close, not so much. And I remember thinking two things, because this is 1991. We were still in the, the heat of the Cold War, if you'll pardon the mixed metaphor. I remember thinking two things. First thing I thought was, man, if this is like this in plain sight, what's really going on inside those missile tubes? What's really going on where you can't see it? If we're painting over rust and painting over pillows to make them look like bulkheads. The second thought I had was, thank goodness I'm in the United States Navy. We don't do that. We don't do that. That's not what we do. So, off I went on my career. I went off and included going to Gitmo. Came back from Gitmo. They gave me a strike group. Most of the ships were in maintenance, which is just fine with me. That's, I like operating. I like maintaining. I like the whole gamut. And my lot was a bunch of ships in strike group. So I'm on after gun deck of a cruiser, port side going forward. You go through a watertight door. It's outboard. Just inboard of that watertight door, there's another watertight door that's a light locker, or a locker for some up and over lights. And there was a cosmetic anomaly. So I poke at it, and well, I poked at it. Turns out it was duct tape. This is a watertight door that had a hole in it, and somebody had put duct tape over it and painted it over a lot so it looked like it was metal. There it is. So now I'm transformed back 20 or so years, thinking that thought I had, we don't do this in my Navy. I discovered that apparently in some rare cases, hopefully rare, we actually do this in my Navy. And I was troubled, very troubled. Again, this is 3.5, almost 4 years ago. So, do we do this in our Navy? Apparently we did, at least once, and maybe more. So, through a long string of circumstances, I ended up as Surfland after that tour as a strike group commander. I thought I was going to Afghanistan. I talked about things like that I saw, and I sort of railed a little bit against some, I'll just say them, top 6 rolled down, get rid of SIMA, get rid of baby SWAS, got the maintenance, or take risk in the maintenance account, embrace computer-based training, some other things that I thought perhaps had contributed to not optimally supporting our ships. Optimal manning, again, top 6 rolled down, a whole bunch of things. We were in I believe, in the Blau report, I think backs it up, that we perhaps made some decisions to be efficient that in the aggregate perhaps detracted from mission readiness. All I know is what I see and what people tell me, and I prefer to be told while I'm looking at something. So I walked around a lot of ships in strike group and was somewhat passionate about the fact that I thought we had some work to do. So I ended up getting the job at Surfland, having expressed my passion for fixing ships. The flag officer detailing folks decided, well, heck, he seems like he's enthusiastic about it. Let's make him Surfland. So here I am 3 years later. Where are we and where are we headed? Well, I'll just say it up front again. We have challenges. This is not a surprise. We have challenges, and in many ways, the challenges we have are unique to our time. We're faced with some unique circumstances. 10-year ground war and lots of support from the sea for that ground war, 2 ground wars. A sequestration, a fiscal challenge, ships that are continuing to age, everything ages, and those other circumstances and decisions I mentioned. We have challenges, they're unique to our time, but they are our challenges, and this is our time to lead, yours and mine. And having walked the decks of your ships and spoken with your staffs and your wardrooms and chiefs messes, I know that you're up to those challenges. I know it. I see it every day on our ships. I see the results of your focused attention and your hard work. And I'm very pleased to know that we're up for those challenges, unique though they may be. Again, this is our time to lead. So, top 6 roll down, optimal manning, those other things I mentioned, conspired, I think, to have us in a challenging place. When I took this job, I had talked at length with some senior surface warfare leaders and trying to get my head around what I needed to focus on. And for materiel readiness, the 2 programs that sort of conspire together to generate near-term readiness and get our ships to expected service life, I think you'll agree with this, at least from a ship's perspective, are PMS and zone inspections. So you walk around our ships, and you see things like this, and you wonder, it's a CHT tank vent, port side forward on the forecastle just before the port break on a DDG. And not an old DDG, it's the one I commanded, as a matter of fact. But you can't help but look at that and say, gee whiz, how did we get that in that condition? Or some other things you walk around and you see in zone inspections. The point being, through optimal manning and top 6 roll down, get rid of SIMA, get rid of baby SWA, some other things, we really put a lot of pressure on our ships, and we lost some of the time and opportunity and what right looks like knowledge that prevents things like this from occurring, or at least when they begin to occur, you have an opportunity to stem the tide somewhat. So there's zone inspections. We needed to reinvigorate zone inspections in a process that taught our sailors and our senior leaders what right looks like. And I mentioned PMS. While I was in my strike group, there was an unfortunate tragedy that resulted in the death of a sailor. You may remember this young man, David Michael Mudge, TEMAD, cross deck on the USS Rents, electrocuted tragically in Jebel Ali during some maintenance on a pump. A wonderful young man by all accounts, and again, killed or died in a tragic, unfortunate accident. Turns out he backed into a fuse panel, the door, the hinge fuse boxes on every ship. You've got them with the 3 little tabs. The door of the fuse panel actually fell off. There's PMS for that. Not to mention zone inspection program too. And he was electrocuted when he backed into it the second time. So clearly we've got issues with PMS, and we've got to reinvigorate our PMS program, was my conclusion. And then some classic headlines from the Navy Times. For example, I read this down at Gitmo. I still have this cover. I picked it up in Gitmo when I was down there. This is from 2008. New amphibs can't fight. Holy cow. These replaced the LPD 47 class, or LPD 17 ships too. My first ship was an amphib. My first ship was an LPD. Wonderful ships. I'd read about this class of ship and knew what it was capable of. To read this headline, that broke my heart. So again, when I showed up at Surfland, I had some things I wanted to focus on. Zone inspections, PMS, LPD 17. Reinstituting a knowledge base amongst our sailors as to what right looks like. How do you re-get that? How do you regain an understanding amongst sailors and senior leaders as to what right looks like? Well, clearly, this is an example of something that's not quite right. This is an Arbach deck on a DDG. By any measure, not a good thing. So how do you explain to people that not only isn't this right, but the fact that this exists on your ship should make you pause and have an all hands on deck evaluation of how we're doing topside corrosion mitigation and prevention, and how do you get better from this? So again, having walked the decks of my strike group ships for a year, and then about 6 months into this tour, the light bulb came on for me that, again, what right looks like is not a commonly held notion. So how do you restart that? How do you get the paddles out and get the heartbeat going on that? We're not going to reconstitute a whole bunch of brick and mortar schoolhouse. We're just not going to. It costs too much money and the manpower isn't there. So the notion of creating an onboard assist called assist teams. In this case, corrosion control assist team, CCAT. Many of you may have had the experience of having a CCAT team on your ship. So you get a bunch of seasoned senior know what right looks like guys, retired master chief bosun mates and LDOs in this case. You hold seminars. They show you how to use the tools that you have. They give you better tools. They show you how to repair your tools. They give you the stock numbers for the right primers and the right paints, and show you how to apply them. And you take that and you turn it in with ship's force doing the work. You turn it into that. It's kind of hard to see this, but this is a ship's force project. And you multiply this by, I couldn't even give you a number, thousands. I got data, $1.5 million on one ship, $1.5 million cost avoidance in a 6-month period, using the corrosion control assist team, over-the-shoulder coaching, re-inoculating our sailors as to in their chain of command as to how to do business the right way. So we caught fire with the corrosion control assist team, and we moved on to anything you pick it, from spy to galley to small valve maintenance to helo hangar doors, you pick it. I mean, why not? It's less expensive than sending folks off to school. It's much more effective. Small team of experts on your ship with your PMS deck, with your sailors on their equipment. Much more effective, much more efficient, and the end result has just been staggering. I've never had a CO call me up and say, don't ever send me a corrosion control assist team, or you pick the team. Never had that phone call. And plenty say, give me more, and they've given me advice on additional areas to have it. I think ship as the classroom is the way to go. It's a money maker. It's a readiness generator, and it's inexpensive and extraordinarily effective. Greatest invention since, as far as I'm concerned, greatest invention since we went from sail to steam is the introduction of RO units in our surface force. Back when I was a JO, water hours, not an uncommon thing on a steamship. Now we got more water than we know what to do with. But we got out of the habit of doing freshwater washdowns, if we were ever really in that habit. But again, with RO units, generally, especially if you're on an amphib, you got more water than you know what to do with, generally. So, my vision, we take, it's now mandatory in Surfland every week, freshwater washdown. But why not wash down every combing inside the skin of the ship, every AFFF station, every AC, every combing around an AC? We'll never know how much cost avoidance we have, but I will tell you this. The thing that sucks the life out of every avail I got through new work and growth work is corrosion. It's the open and inspect, it's the lift the pump off the foundation. Suddenly I got new work and I got to cut out important other work that I could have mitigated had we just done some preventive maintenance with freshwater washdown. I apologize if this is in the weeds, but this is a money maker too. If we could get back in the habit, or if we could get in the habit of doing freshwater washdowns from tack end to keel, stem to stern, topside, and inside the skin of the ship in specific places. Again, I really truly believe we'd avoid tremendous cost and add life back to the expected service lives of our ships, and continue to make them affordable to maintain. So I mentioned some assist teams. This is helo hangar doors. Probably, if you're thinking of your FFG or your garage door, fast forward and go aboard an LPD-17, one of the most complicated systems we have, and it's designed to be nuclear blast proof. So it's got to be very well engineered, and it is. But it's a very complicated piece of machinery, as are the blast doors or the helo hangar doors on DDGs and the cruisers as well. No school for this. It's all OJT or break out the tech manual. But this is a mission kill if this thing doesn't work. So again, we bring on some experts, we hold mini camps and we hold assist visits, and the operational availability for these blast doors, these helo hangar doors, gone up tremendously. So again, you get some seasoned, salty guy on board, rather than have to send your sailor off to school. He comes on board, and with all your sailors in the specific rating and division, on their ship, on their equipment, shows them what right looks like and how to keep it that way. Surface Force Readiness Manual. Not a cute picture, not sailors doing stuff, but one I think if we could roll back time and institute this 15 years ago, it's the template for how to integrate the processes that build a better maintenance package, so you have a better chance of starting the avail, your major maintenance avails, focused on fixing the right stuff, build a better maintenance package, executing that package on time, and then validating you've got it right with some sea trials, not contractor sea trials, but TICOM sea trials, and then progressing through the basic phase with the culmination of ship's training and readiness assessments, dovetailed, timed correctly with materiel assessments, with the target being that gold start there. That's the TICOM's target, the surface TICOM, my target for a ship and crew, is the end of the basic phase. I want to graduate you from the basic phase with all your certs done in solid material condition, ready to go work for the fleet commander. That's about an 18 to 24 month process to get there. Surface Force Readiness Manual, we took the training manual, necked it down to a very thin, very readable, very understandable readiness manual that I commend to each of you. Please read it and understand it. It is the template by which we're going to continue to do business. Had a meeting today with flag officers at Admiral Gordy's office. We're considering some there's an effort ongoing to neck down or to examine all the inspections we do, including INSERV and others, CSIP, et cetera, and overlaying them on this template. So we take our format for readiness evaluation and overlay the outside assessors and outside inspectors on our timeline, the one that supports our outcome. It's a great initiative, and I think you'll see over the course of the coming months big changes in the way we inspect our ships and the way we inspect our surface force specifically. The goal being free you up from those duplicative over and over again, sometimes conflicting standards and inspections that you're burdened with through the course of the FRP. That's the goal. So anyway, this is the framework, and I'd ask that those of you involved with surface ships, and that's pretty much everybody, please take a look at this. Please understand it. It is the way we're going to do business in the future. So moving on. Speaking of the future, so we now update tech manuals and PMS electronically. It's beamed to your ship, it comes on a disk, it gets on your LAN, it gets into the computer. The files are in the computer. So the challenge is, how do you get it from that computer to Fireman Timmy or Petty Officer Sue's hand, the technician, the maintenance person? It's right there in the computer. You know, you beat on it, it's in there somewhere. In the real world, they got pads, they got iPads, they got things that they use. My kid's not a car guy, but he can change the injectors on his Honda, or his Volkswagen, rather, by going to YouTube and looking for the one that's, you know, change injectors, which one's got 17,000 likes and which one's got 2, so you can sit there and do it. Similarly, I believe, and we've got some trials on, or some trials ongoing on some of our ships, Monterey specifically as a Monterey sailor. I believe we can leap ahead to the 21st century from where we are now in getting the information, the current information, tech manuals and MRCs and CSOS and EOP and EOS to our sailors on the deck plates through the simple, it may be expensive, but the simple step of embracing modern technology like they already have in the real world. So we're experimenting with this. I'm very sanguine. I see this is the way of the future, and the future is here. I mentioned the vision of our seniors. We've got great stuff. We buy wonderful first-class ships. Regrettably, in some instances, every ship is its own subclass of a ship. You know this. We want every ship to be better than the last. Of course we do. So one of our challenges, and we've figured this out, is to neck down the variations to have more commonality in our ships. It helps with training, it helps with logistics, it helps with maintenance. So we're on a very specific targeted mission here, and great progress in this. And again, wonderful ships, absolutely world class. Necking down the variation is one of our goals. I mentioned, I put that headline up, New Amphibs Can't Fight, and I mentioned the fact that LPD-17, the class, and LPD-17, the ship, were at the top of my list of things to fix. This is the bridge wing of the USS San Antonio, Battle E winning all kinds of accolades and awards from engineering to health and the rest. Ship had the first in-serve of the LPD-17 class. Had nothing to see there. It was awesome. It was better than some of the final contract trials for some of our LPD-17s. Ship's in great shape. Ship's, if you haven't been aboard, I'd ask that you take the time to go aboard. This is a wonderful class of ships, extraordinarily capable, and I think we've just begun to probe the capabilities, the future possibilities for this class of ship. So I'd leave you with that. This is LPD-17, the San Antonio, roared out the gate in response to Sandy, along with others, and performed magnificently. Just another rock-solid, war-fighting ready, mission-ready ship in the Atlantic Fleet, ready to go to work when called upon, on short notice or as scheduled. So those are my prepared remarks to talk to you about my slides. As I mentioned, and I won't pretend that we don't have challenges. We do. We've got significant challenges, and they're unique to our time. But these are our challenges, and this is our time to lead. And I know we're up for it. I see it every day. I've been to your ships. I've seen you in action. I know what you're capable of, and I'm so grateful to have had this opportunity for the last 3 years to serve with you and support you in all that you've done in defense of our nation. I can't tell you how heartwarming it is. 2 best days in a ship's life. The day you sail off on deployment, that's the 2nd best day. It's the day you come back from deployment, having done what our president and our people expect of us, and done it magnificently. So again, I'm so grateful to have been a part of this. I'm grateful, Sam, for this opportunity to speak today. And now I'd be happy to take any questions or anything you'd like me to talk about in more detail. Over.
Sir?
Yes, sir. Thank you.
Good afternoon, Captain Forrest. I've got a question. I grew up on FFGs. I've been on 3 of them. And when they started, as you know, because you were department head on one, we had about 150 or so people. And of course, there's supposed to be minimal man. One guy walking the spaces. I was an OXO, and I'm sure you can appreciate that.
Yes, sir.
But we grew the manning because we realized it wasn't working. But over time, I was involved in optimal manning when I was at Fleet Forces and did studies. And we keep trying to bring it back, but unfortunately, the FFG concept, I'm not sure if it's proven that it didn't necessarily work when you have minimal manning, but we keep trying to bring it back and reinvigorate it. I heard you speak at SNA up at Washington, and all the admirals up here talking about LCS. A concern of mine is, are we taking those lessons learned from the FFGs that when you have minimal manning and with maintenance and everything else?
Great question, and I think the answer is yes. Now, you may not be old enough to remember this, but the part of the minimal manning concept on FFGs presupposed we'd stick with the class maintenance plan, which involved a fix before fail philosophy, where we knew statistically a fire pump was going to fail every 48 months. So we'd have a rotatable pool, and every 36 months we'd pull off all the fire pumps. And that lasted about a year. I was Chang on FFG 15, and it was dead by the time I got there, and I was the 2nd Chang, to give you the numbers. But to your point, or to your question, the LCS manning philosophy is eminently executable. It really is. Those are great ships. And like every new class of ships, we'll work our way through some challenges. Of course we will. LPD 17 took some time. Every ship class is unique, and it takes a little bit, and they have, in the case of LCS, a unique manning and maintenance concept. We'll work our way through this, just like we did with the FFGs. They're making it to 30 years expected service life, and we changed some of the manning concept, and we changed some of the maintenance philosophy. But we'll figure this out. Like I said, I'm very sanguine for the future. I see it. I've been aboard LCS, both versions. They're great ships. They really are. Just like the FIGs are great ships. FIG's not a destroyer. LCS isn't a FIG. They're all different, but we'll work our way through this. I'm so, again, I keep going back to the word sanguine. I'm so jazzed for the future because we got great leaders who are really thinking this through, working their way through these challenges and leading us through these challenges. And so I'm not afraid about the future of LCS. In fact, I'm very, very psyched for it. But thanks for the question. What else should we talk about, shipmates? Sam.
Very quick question.
Yes, sir.
And just ask if you'd pull that crystal ball out of your back pocket, sir. And don't know if our scholarship winners over here will choose a career in the Navy, but where they do so, we have a freshman and sophomore in college. Fast forward ahead, 5 years from now. What are your thoughts, sir?
Wow. Well, my thought is, wow. I wish I was you. I wish I was going to go to college for 4 years, come out, graduate, be an ensign, and start over in 5 years. You pick it. What ship class don't you gotta love? I mentioned amphibs. We're still building big deck amphibs, and we've got these awesome, from WASP on up, existing big deck amphibious aircraft carriers. If you haven't been, if I'm a crew des guy and that's all I do, man, you're missing a big, exciting chunk of our United States Navy. I commend it to you. If you haven't read my bio, first ship LPD, second ship FFG, third ship Oiler, fourth ship Mount Whitney LCC, XO of a cruiser, CO of a DDG, embarked in an aircraft carrier as a Desron commander. Never the same thing twice, and I've got to tell you, they're all awesome. You all know this. It's not what class of ship you serve on. It's the people and the cool stuff we get to do on these great ships that our Department of Defense buys and allows us to go operate, and these wonderful sailors that we're so privileged to lead. That's what it's about. So back to my point. 6 years from now, 5 years from now, awesome amphibious fleet. We continue to build these great LPD-17s. I can't tell you how cool they are. And they're not my LPD-4 or LPD-12, LPD-4 class ship. These are light years ahead of them. So if you like amphibs, and I love them, you're going to love the future of the amphibious Navy. If you like crewdes, you're going to love the future of the crewdes Navy. Cruisers are awesome. We've got BMD stuff. We're shooting bullets with bullets out of our ships. It's fantastic. Cruisers are going to be around for a while. We're still building DDGs, the Flight 3s. We're going to open that line up. It's a tremendous capability. If you haven't had a chance to research, well, if you get a chance to go to Bath and look at the DDG 1000, I mean, holy smokes, that thing's a behemoth. That's the scariest thing I've ever seen afloat. That's like the Sovereign was to me back in the day, you know, just terrified. We all run away. So the future of our crewdes Navy could not be more exciting. And look at the LCS. We're going to have FIGs around. We'll still have FIGs around when you graduate from college and you're an ensign. But look at LCS. It's a good path, trust me. Look at look at the capabilities of LCS, the possibilities. Boy, they're endless. They are endless. They're constrained only by our imagination. Mission modules, we'll figure this out. We will. We'll get this right. We will. We must, but we will. I could not be more excited for the future, Sam, and thank you for a great question. We've got great stuff. And the best thing about our stuff, it has the capacity to expand. Who'd have thought of UAVs and, you know, handheld gadgets you can throw off your ship and fly around? We've got that stuff. We don't have it fielded yet, but it's coming. And we've got UAVs, we've got UUVs, we've got, again, let me put it in context. If you'd have told my CO when I was XO Leyte Gulf that we were going to take SM-2s off and replace them with Tomahawks, he would have thrown you off the ship. This ship, he would have said, this is an AAW platform. Think about that. But think about how far we've come from back in that day. Where, you know, yeah, we got SM-2s, we got SM-3s, we got SM-6s, we got VLA, we had TASM, maybe we'll bring it back. We had, you know, six-pack or quad-pack Sea Sparrows, we got Tomahawks. The point being, our ships are so flexible and so capable. The limit in all this is us, our ability to imagine the possibilities and make it happen. We'll get through this sequestration thing. We will. It'll be fine. We need to focus at this level on the things that we can control. And I go back to deck plate stuff, rigorous zone inspections, honest PMS, taking care of people, training ourselves, re-educating ourselves as to what right looks like, using the tools that we can, ship as a classroom being an example, freshwater wash, those simple tools, those things, those time-tested, value-added, high return on the investment activities that we can control. Sequestration will play itself out. 198 miles from here is Pentagon North parking, and there's people parked in there going to work in the dark, stay until it's dark, working this out. They got us covered on that end. We'll focus on what we can control. But I would tell you, especially you young people, when you roll off a shore duty, if your duty preference card says, you know, any shore duty Hawaii or something, pause and reflect for a moment that hard decisions and hard work's occurring up in DC. You know what's going on here. You know what the fleet needs. Take your expertise and plow it back in where it can inform those decision makers. Or conversely, go to ATG where you can take your expertise, plow it back into educating us as to what right looks like. Or TAC Tregrulant or any of the other training entities. Or those perhaps not as fun and take the pack off as other jobs could be, but those tough jobs, those ones where decisions are made, where programming decisions are made, where budgets are developed. Give back to the surface force. Give back to your shipmates still out here getting the job done. So that's my pitch as a former detailer, and that was advice given to me, and I've never regretted taking those hard jobs, ashore. Because when I come back to sea, I get to live with those hopefully good decisions that were made. Yes, sir.
Admiral Babaldani, thank you for speaking with us today. And
Absolutely.
congratulations on your tour and
Thank you.
career of service. If material readiness and engineering gets you to the fight, war fighting gets you back. And if we have high standards of material readiness and good sailors operating those ships, what's your vision for the tactics, techniques, and procedures that need to be developed to maintain that war fighting readiness?
Great question. Thank you, sir. My vision is I'm following in the wake of our surface warfare leadership and Admiral Gortney specifically, Admiral Harvey before him, in a vision for warfighting centers of excellence, a focused attention on the tactics, techniques, procedures, and the philosophical or warfighting, the solid warfighting foundation starts at Baby Swas, frankly, for our surface warfare officers and enlisted warfighters. So there's a powerful movement forward, more powerful than I've seen in a long time, to really get down into the details of how we're going to do this, how we're going to reconstitute or properly constitute those procedures and those schoolhouses in some cases that will develop that expertise and consistently produce that expertise in our surface community. I will tell you, if you haven't been to SWAS lately, the efforts begun by Captain Neil Parrott here with us, thank you. Thank you for all you did up at Surface Warfare Officer School. Really accelerated this for us. I won't say that we lost focus, because of course we didn't, but I think our focus was somewhat diluted. The focus is back. And again, I commend a visit to SWAS to anyone who can make their way up to Newport, especially in the summertime, great place to be, and stop in at SWAS and see what's going on there. You will be astounded. What we're doing with trainers, we've reinvigorated the command qual process and some other processes to really put the warfighting back in surface warfare. So again, I'm really sanguine for the future, especially for those of you going off to college and going to come back in 5 years as ensigns. I can't wait to welcome you to the fleet. Great question. Thank you, sir. Any others? Well, I've got to run. Sorry, Sam. I've got a meeting I've got to be at 1300 Beckett Fleet Forces Command to talk about this very topic, as a matter of fact, the future of surface warfare. So again, thank you so much, Sam and Surface Navy Association, for allowing me to speak today. And thank all of you for your leadership from the deck plates, for making great stuff happen in our ships, in our surface warfare community. Thank you. Thanks, Sam. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Thanks.
Sir, I know you never asked for it, but there are some things that we know that a leader of your caliber deserves, and it's certainly better than a coin and a hat for the Surface Navy Association.
Awesome.
I think I can speak for every surface warrior who has ever been to sea and say that you were the right person at the right time.
Thank you.
To come and do some things that were hard, that quite frankly I'm pretty confident that some other people turned down, and that you've leaned into this grindstone so heavily for 3 years. Again, we're grateful for it. Those of us who will be moving into private citizenry in the not too distant future will look back at this time, and we'll have you to thank. Thank you so much, sir.
Thanks, Sam.
Thank you for being with us today.
My honor.
And for honoring with your presence. And sir, tell them what needs to be done.
Welcome.
Listen to them if you have to. Tell them what needs to be done, sir.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Okay. Well, thanks again, everyone. Thank you, Sam. I got to run. Thank you.
I wonder why you're there.
Thank you. Thank you.